Mental discipline isn't merely about showing up on time. It's about consciously deciding what you show up for, why, and for how long. You absolutely have to start thinking like someone who owns their day. Today, I'm going to show you how to cultivate that kind of discipline, not just the kind that gets you to work promptly, but the kind that liberates you from the old system entirely. Let's begin. I used to believe that working longer hours was the ultimate secret to success. Just put in more time, grind harder, stay later. But then, one day, a profound realization hit me and it changed everything. Time by itself doesn't guarantee value. Just because the clock keeps ticking doesn't mean your life is actually moving forward. The employee mindset says, I gave 8 hours, so I deserve a reward. But wealth doesn't operate on hours, it responds to results, and the moment I learned to shift my thinking from time spent to value created, everything in my life began to shift with it. Don't count the hours, make the hours count. That phrase became a cornerstone of my philosophy. You have 24 hours in a day, just like the wealthy, just like the poor, just like the mediocre and the extraordinary. The difference isn't the number of hours. It's the discipline behind how those hours are utilized. Most people don't lose their dreams because they lacked time. They lose them because they didn't respect the time they had. They traded gold for gravel. They sold their attention cheap, and every single time you do that, you're training your mind to serve effort instead of excellence. Time discipline is wealth discipline. They are one and the same. Every hour you waste is a dollar you delay. Every task you delay is a result you postpone. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't rest. In fact, rest is absolutely essential. But rest should be earned, not escaped to. Most people try to escape their day before they've built anything in it. And that, my friends, is the trap. You can fill your schedule with meetings, errands, tasks, even low-val. You work and genuinely feel like you're doing something important. But the truth is, that's just motion without meaning. Productivity isn't about being busy. Productivity is about doing what moves the needle. When I was just starting out, I used to sit with my mentor, Earl Schoaf. He didn't ask me how many hours I worked. He asked me what I had produced. That question embarrassed me at first because I didn't have much to show for the hours I was clocking. But I'll tell you something, that discomfort was a gift. It was the very beginning of my mental discipline. From that day forward, I started planning my days in blocks of results. What will I write? Who will I help? What ideas will I refine? How much value can I create before noon? If you truly want to escape the employee mindset, stop measuring time in chunks. Start measuring it in impact. Stop waking up just to survive your day. Wake up to sculpt it. Ask yourself what part of today multiplies tomorrow, and then protect that part. Guard it like it's gold, because it is. The mind that treats time like a precious resource builds wealth. The mind that treats time like an endless supply stays broke in pocket and in purpose. This is the heart of the shift. Employees sell time. Entrepreneurs multiply it, and wealth doesn't come from how long you work. It comes from how smartly you've trained your mind to work. So, if you're serious about building wealth, if you're serious about changing your life, then let this be your first commandment. Master your time or it will master your income. Because the clock is always ticking. But whether it counts down your freedom or your frustration, that's your decision. Let me tell you something that shifted my entire philosophy about success, wealth, and the way we live our days. Most people don't plan their day, they react to it. They wake up late, rush into activity, and spend the rest of their day catching up. They don't lead their day leads them, and that, my friends, is not a life of design, it's a life of default. And default is where mediocrity lives. If you want to rise above the noise, you must rise above the chaos. And that starts by building what I call a thinking schedule. Now, that might sound a little odd. People plan meetings, sure. They plan errands, calls, even vacations, but thinking most never plan a single minute of it. And yet, real thinking is where wealth begins. When I started setting aside 30 minutes a day just for strategic thinking, I noticed something remarkable. My actions became sharper. My results became faster. Why? Because I wasn't reacting anymore, I was designing. See, action without thought is like running full speed in the wrong direction. You sweat, you move, you burn time, but you don't build, and you know what's worse. You convince yourself that you're working hard when in reality you're spinning your wheels. That's the trap, but here's the cure: carve out sacred time to think, not to scroll, not to reply to emails, but to think about your goals, your money, your business, your life. Because the truth is, you're not just managing tasks, you're shaping a future. I used to sit at my kitchen table, notebook in hand, early in the morning, before the phones rang, before the world shouted its demands. And I'd ask myself questions: what's working, what's not, what can I improve, what should I delegate? What's the one move I could make today that would multiply value tomorrow? And those questions, they created leverage. That leverage built wealth, that wealth bought freedom, but don't wait for inspiration to strike. Build it into your routine. Set it like an appointment. Call it your power window, your strategy hour, your thinking chair, whatever you want. But treat it with the same respect you'd treat $1 million investor meeting, because that's what it is: a meeting with your future. You don't build a rich life by accident, you build it by intention, and intention starts with thought. The wealthy don't just do more, they think better. They don't just act fast, they act wisely, and that wisdom comes from stepping back, asking better questions, and designing better answers. So, if you want to leave behind the poverty of reaction and step into the abundance of creation, then start with this simple habit: 30 minutes daily. Think, don't just do. Plan, don't just push. Design, don't just survive, because a day spent without thinking is a day spent serving someone else's plan. And you were born to lead your own. Let me share something with you that I had to learn the hard way. What you feed your mind will either build your future or build your fears. The mind is fertile ground, and whatever you plant, whether wisdom or weeds, will grow. Now, most people spend the best hours of their day filling their minds with noise. And then they wonder why they can't think clearly, why they are stuck, or why their vision for life remains blurry. But clarity doesn't come from chaos, it comes from discipline, and that discipline starts with controlling your inputs. We've got devices buzzing in our hands, screens in our pockets, distractions at every turn. The world is loud. If you let it, it'll drown out the small, powerful voice of your own vision. I remember a time when I'd wake up and the first thing I did was read the headlines. Seemed harmless, but one day I realized something. I wasn't starting my day with goals, I was starting it with anxiety. My thoughts weren't being shaped by principles. They were being stirred by panic, by gossip, by someone else's crisis. And that noise doesn't build wealth, it builds confusion. So I made a change. I turned off the noise. I stopped reading what didn't serve me. I stopped listening to people who weren't building anything worth modeling. I replaced it with books. Good books, books on finance, philosophy, strategy. I filled my ears with wisdom and my mornings with truth. I swapped out news for knowledge, commentary for clarity, reaction for reflection, and that changed my thinking. And when your thinking changes, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your direction changes. And that's how your future changes, step by step, thought by thought. One of the greatest financial secrets I've ever learned is this: discipline isn't just about what you do, it's about what you allow in. Garbage in, garbage out, excellence in, excellence out. The world will offer you junk food for the brain every single day. It's up to you to decline the offer. Don't let your mind become a trash can for trending fears and other people's failures. Guard it like a treasure vault. Protect it like the asset it truly is. You see, the wealthy don't just have money, they have mastery. And mastery begins with mental hygiene. They feed their minds with timeless principles, not temporary trends. They study frameworks that outlast fads. They invest in understanding, not just information. They don't binge content, they cultivate character. That's the difference. So, if you want to build a future that's worth living, start by disciplining the gatekeepers of your mind. Choose your inputs with the same care you choose your investments. Filter your influences, audit your attention. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows, and where your energy flows, your life grows. Remember, you don't just become rich in the bank account, you become rich in thought first. Control your inputs and you'll control your vision. Control your vision and you'll control your outcome. That's where wealth begins. I learned long ago that the difference between those who get ahead financially and those who stay stuck isn't just found in their bank accounts. It's found in their calendars. Because while most people spend time, the wealthy invest it. It's a shift in philosophy, but it changes everything. Employees and even many entrepreneurs get caught in the habit of surviving the day. They look at time as something to pass, something to fill. But time is not a slot to fill, it's capital, and once it's spent, it's gone. One of the greatest questions I ever started asking myself was, am I investing this hour or just spending it? Because there's a profound difference. Spending time means you're using it to get through, to feel productive, to avoid boredom. But investing time means you're planting it in something that can grow, something that compounds, something that multiplies your options down the road. That's how the rich think, not in terms of hours passed, but in terms of returns generated. I remember in my early days, I was always busy. But busy fooled me. I thought activity meant progress. I thought as long as I was exhausted by the end of the day, I must have done something meaningful. But exhaustion isn't always a sign of productivity, it can be a sign of misdirection. I had to learn to stop congratulating myself for being busy and start evaluating myself for being effective. So, I began to evaluate my time the way I would evaluate an investment. I'd ask, is this meeting worth an hour of my life? Is this task moving me closer to my goals or just keeping me from feeling guilty? And most importantly, if I lived every day like this, where would I end up in 5 years? Let me tell you, those questions were sobering, but they were necessary. Because once I saw time as a resource, as capital, I stopped squandering it. And when I did, everything began to change. I started scheduling hours for thinking, not just reacting. I created time blocks for creativity, planning, deep work, the kinds of things that actually move the needle. I cut out the fluff, the empty conversations, the distractions that didn't serve my vision, and I replaced them with intentional, return-producing activities. Studying, building systems, meeting mentors, learning a new skill. All of it built momentum. Think about this. If every hour were $1, would you hand it out freely to whatever knocks on your door, or would you guard it, plan it, and assign it carefully to what produces results? See, when you waste money, you can earn it back, but when you waste time, it's gone, and the poor mindset says, I have to kill time. The rich mindset says, I have to multiply it. Time isn't just a container, it's a seed, and every day gives you 24 of them. The question is, are you planting them in good soil, in fertile ground that grows your life, your business, your character? Or are you scattering them aimlessly, letting the wind carry them where it may? So if you want to change your financial destiny, start with your time. Track it, study it, respect it, invest it like it matters because it does. One intentional hour today can be worth 10 wasted ones tomorrow. That's the math of wealth. There came a time in my life when I realized I was doing a lot of things right, but I wasn't always doing the right things. That was a painful realization. I was showing up, I was working hard, I was busy from morning to night. But when I looked at the scoreboard, my results, it didn't add up. That's when it hit me, I was addicted to routine. I wasn't building momentum, I was just maintaining motion, and that's a trap many people fall into. They confuse discipline with repetition. But real mental discipline, the kind that builds wealth, isn't just about staying consistent, it's about being consistent with the right things. See, the poor thinker obsesses over doing everything perfectly. The routine is their safety blanket. They want to check every box, respond to every email, and complete every task. But wealth doesn't respond to how well you check boxes, it responds to how well you choose them. You can be extremely efficient at the wrong things and still go broke. The question isn't, am I doing this right? The question is, should I be doing this at all? That's where ROI comes in, return on investment. You've got to start thinking in terms of outcomes. What does this task actually produce for me? What skill does it sharpen? What door does it open? What value does it create? I started grading my activities not by how routine they were, but by the return they gave me in one of three areas: my skills, my relationships, or my income. If it didn't grow one of those, I either delegated it or deleted it. I remember early on, I'd spend hours organizing papers or designing something on my own just to save a few bucks. But I wasn't saving, I was costing myself. I could have used that time to meet someone, to learn something, or to sell something. That's when I flipped the script. I asked, what's the highest impact use of my energy today? And then I did that obsessively over and over. Because wealth doesn't come from spreading yourself thin, it comes from concentrating your effort where it multiplies. Let me give you something practical. Take your weekly calendar and label every block with a simple symbol: G for growth, M for maintenance, D for distraction. Then ask yourself, how much of your week is spent growing something, growing your ability, your network, your money? That's your scorecard, not how busy you are, but how strategic you are, because poor thinkers live in motion. Rich thinkers live in outcomes. This is why mental discipline matters. You've got to train your mind to pause before you act and ask, is this a high return activity? And that takes courage, because sometimes the highest ROI work is also the scariest, the least comfortable, the call you've been avoiding, the idea you've been sitting on, the partnership you've delayed. But that's where the gold is, and the more you practice acting on ROI instead of routine, the more momentum you build, and momentum compounds. So, if you're serious about building a rich lifestyle, stop worshiping the routine. Start measuring the return. Every action has a cost and a reward. Make sure you're choosing actions where the reward outweighs the cost. That's how rich thinkers stay rich. I remember a young man coming up to me after a seminar, notebook in hand, eyes wide with enthusiasm. He said, I'm working so hard, doing everything I can. Why am I still stuck financially? I asked him to walk me through his average day. And as he listed the things he did, mail replies, checking the news, scrolling social media, organizing his closet bin, watching a little Netflix to unwind, I realized something. He wasn't failing from lack of effort. He was failing because he was majoring in minor things, and that, my friends, is one of the greatest traps we fall into. It's not just what you do, it's what you prioritize. There's a whole group of people working hard but not smart, busy every hour but not effective. And that's not discipline, that's distraction disguised as diligence. You've got to ask yourself, are the things I spend my time on moving me closer to freedom or just keeping me occupied? Scrolling is not a strategy, worry is not a wealth plan, gossip doesn't pay dividends. I used to say to myself, every minute I spend on the trivial is a minute I stole from the important. And when I started seeing time that way, like a limited vault of gold coins, I stopped handing them out to every little distraction. Let me give you something practical. Do a time audit for 1 week, write down where your hours go, be honest. Look at it like an investor looks at a balance sheet, and then circle every item that contributed to growth: your income, your knowledge, your relationships. You'll be surprised how few circles you draw. That's not failure, that's awareness, and awareness is power. I remember a season when I was drowning in little tasks, things that felt urgent but weren't important. So, I asked myself a simple question: what are the 5 things that, if I focused on them every week, would build my future? And I wrote them down: speaking, studying, selling, teaching, building relationships. That was it. Everything else got filtered through that list. If it didn't fall into one of those categories, it didn't deserve my best hours. That's how you reclaim your time. You start saying no, not out of arrogance, but out of purpose. Because when you major in the minor, you rob the major of its power. And wealth, real, lasting wealth, is built by people who keep the main thing the main thing. It's tempting to stay busy. It feels productive, but busyness is a poor substitute for progress, and progress only happens when you focus on the essential few, not the trivial many. So, here's the challenge: eliminate one minor activity from your life this week. Just one, and in its place, add one action that builds your wealth, your skill, or your network. Do that enough times, and you'll stop spinning your wheels and start moving the needle. I've seen it time and again. People caught in a cycle of reaction, responding instantly to every ping, every message, every crisis, as if their financial future depended on their speed. And in a way, it does, but here's the truth: reacting quickly isn't the same as thinking well. In fact, reacting without thought is the surest way to lose control over your money and your life. Mental discipline starts when you recognize that not every stimulus deserves an immediate reaction. The world will throw challenges, opportunities, setbacks, and distractions your way. It's what you do in that pause between stimulus and response that separates the wealthy thinker from the overwhelmed worker. I remember early in my career, I was constantly stressed out, responding to every request, every email, every opportunity as fast as I could. I thought speed was power, but all it was exhaustion. One day, a mentor told me, "Don't be a slave to the urgent. Be the master of the so." Before you buy, invest, or even reply to a financial question, take a moment, ask yourself, is this decision based on impulse or insight? Is this emotion or is it evidence? That brief pause, sometimes just a few seconds, can save you from a lifetime of regret. In my own life, there have been countless times when I wanted to rush into a deal or spend impulsively after a win. But the habit of pausing, of reflecting, has saved me from countless mistakes and, more importantly, opened doors to far better opportunities. It completely transformed my relationship with money, shifting it from one of frantic reaction to one of deliberate control. The greatest power isn't in moving fast, it's in moving wisely. The more you practice this mental pause, the more you break free from the chains of automatic reaction. You become the thinker, the planner, the one who commands their future instead of being tossed about by circumstances. So, starting today, begin mastering your mind by mastering your pause. When the urge to react hits, stop, breathe, reflect, then decide. That is the essence of mental discipline, and it is the very foundation of wealth thinking. There's an incredible freedom that comes when you make one clear decision and stick with it day after day. I found in my own journey that the flood of choices we face every day can either be a source of overwhelming confusion or a powerful tool. But the truth is, you don't need to be overwhelmed by endless decisions. What you truly need is one firm decision about where you want to go, and then the unwavering discipline to show up every single day and act on it. Early in my career, I realized I was wasting precious energy dithering over every little choice. Should I save this dollar? Should I invest in this course? Should I take this job or that one? I was paralyzed by the sheer volume of decisions, and it dramatically slowed me down. Then a mentor shared a profound piece of advice: make the decision once, then live it every day. That simple statement changed everything for me. Deciding once means choosing your goal, your values, your strategy, and then refusing to waver. It means saying to yourself, this is the path I'm on. I will act consistently with discipline to make this happen. It's not about a one-time burst of motivation, it's a daily commitment to the small acts that compound into monumental success. Think of it like planting a tree. You decide once to plant it. But it's the daily watering, the occasional pruning, the protection from weeds, that consistent care that makes it grow tall and strong. Your financial future grows the same way. The key is not just the decision, but the profound discipline that follows. It's waking up each morning and doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. It's saving a little more, learning a little more, investing a little more. These seemingly small, daily acts add up to a lifetime of wealth. I've met people who make 100 decisions but never follow through, and I've met those who made one clear decision and stayed disciplined for years. Guess who wins? It's the latter every single time. So today, if you're feeling overwhelmed, stop trying to make 1,000 decisions. Instead, make one powerful decision about your financial future. Write it down, declare it to yourself, then commit to showing up daily. No excuses, no delays, no distractions. Remember, success is not a matter of luck or genius. It's a matter of consistent action on one clear, unwavering decision. Decide once, act daily, and watch how your wealth and your life truly transform. There's a certain freedom that comes when you decide to separate yourself from the clock punchers, those who live by the ticking of a clock and monthly paycheck. You see, the world is full of people wishing for raises, hoping someone will finally recognize their value and reward them. But wishing for a raise isn't a strategy, it's just a hope. True wealth and success don't come from waiting on others to notice you. They come from building yourself into someone truly impossible to ignore. Early on, I learned that promotions don't just happen, they're earned by the person who invests time and effort into growing their skills, knowledge, and mindset far beyond the basic job description. I remember when I first started, I could have easily settled for just clocking in and doing the bare minimum, but I knew that path led nowhere. Instead, I chose to devour books, listen intently to mentors, and push myself to think bigger, learn things that didn't just help me do my job, but actively prepared me to create my own opportunities. The mentally disciplined individual understands that the most valuable asset they possess is their mind, and investing in it daily is like building a mountain no one can move. When you raise your skill level, you're not just hoping someone will recognize it, you become a force they simply cannot ignore. You become the person who is called in for the big projects, the one others look to for solutions, the one who commands attention not because of the hours spent, but because of immense value created. I have seen far too many talented people stagnate because they mistakenly believed a raise or promotion was someone else's responsibility. But the secret is this: you promote yourself by becoming so valuable, so indispensable, that waiting for external approval becomes utterly irrelevant. This requires immense mental discipline because it means showing up every single day, not just physically, but mentally, ready to learn, ready to solve, ready to grow. Don't envy the raise or the promotion. Instead, focus relentlessly on building the skills, habits, and mindset that will make you impossible to ignore. And when you do that, the rewards don't come as a wish, they come as a natural, undeniable consequence. Separate yourself from the clock punchers, invest in yourself with unwavering discipline, be the architect of your own advancement. This is how mental discipline truly turns into real world success. If the only time you ever think about money is when payday rolls around, then you're already on the losing side of the game. That's the mindset that keeps people trapped in a perpetual cycle of trading time for dollars, always dependent on that next paycheck, always vulnerable to whatever happens with the job, the boss, or the economy. To build true, lasting wealth, you need to build a mind that operates far beyond the limitations of mere paychecks. You need a mindset that creates systems, not just effort. Early in my journey, I realized that simply working harder wasn't the ultimate answer. Working smarter, yes, but even more important was building something that worked whether I was physically there or not. Think about it: if your income stops the moment you stop working, then you're stuck in an employee mindset. Financially free think profoundly differently. They understand cash flow, equity, leverage, and scalability. They see money as something that can be multiplied, not just earned. I remember the first time I made a sale or created a product that brought in money even when I wasn't actively selling. It was a small step, but it completely changed the way I thought about money and effort. Suddenly, I wasn't just exchanging hours for dollars. I was building a machine that worked for me, a machine fueled by smart thinking and strategic planning. This is the essence of mental discipline in wealth creation. It's about thinking beyond just effort for earnings. It's about developing the uncanny ability to see opportunities where others see only limitations. It's about building assets, whether that's a business, investments, intellectual property, or relationships that generate income independent of your daily grind. You must train your mind to operate on systems, not just tasks. Create frameworks in your life where your money works even when you don't. Develop habits that focus on cash flow and leverage. Learn to think about equity, not just the next paycheck. This profound shift in thinking is what separates the financially free from those who remain chained to a job. When you build a mind that thinks in terms of cash flow, equity, and scalability, you don't just survive. You thrive. Your income no longer depends on your presence, but on the enduring power of your systems and ideas. That's mental discipline. That's the mindset of true financial mastery. As we come to the close of this conversation, I want you to take a moment and truly feel the weight of what's been shared. It's not just about learning new information or checking off another list of things to do. No, what we've been talking about today is far deeper. It's about transforming how you think, how you see your time, your money, and your entire life. It's about shifting from a mindset of scarcity in reaction to a mindset of abundance and strategic action. This is the mental discipline that turns ordinary people into architects of wealth, builders of legacy, and masters of their own financial future. Let me be clear, none of this is easy. Building a rich financial future requires persistence. It demands daily commitment, and it asks you to make choices that may feel uncomfortable at first. But the truth is, nothing truly worthwhile comes without effort. You've heard the saying, the harder you work, the luckier you get. That's no accident. It's the discipline behind your thoughts and actions that opens doors and creates opportunities that others only dream about. Remember, time is your most precious resource. If you don't manage your time wisely, it will manage you, and when that happens, you lose control over your financial destiny. You don't get more time, you only get more disciplined with the time you have. So I urge you, master your time first. Learn to invest your hours like you invest your money. Ask yourself daily, am I spending this hour on something that moves me closer to my goals? Am I building, learning, or growing, or am I just staying busy, caught in a cycle of activity without progress? As you begin to master your time, build a thinking schedule. Set aside moments in your day not just to work, but to plan, reflect, and create. This is where the magic happens, when you step back from the noise and distractions and give yourself permission to dream strategically. The rich don't just work harder, they work smarter. They don't react, they respond. They design their days with purpose and intention, knowing that every decision compounds over time. Control your inputs. What you feed your mind is what feeds your future. Cut out distractions that steal your focus and replace them with knowledge that empowers. Read books that stretch your thinking. Learn from mentors who have walked the path before you. Seek frameworks, not just facts. When you discipline your mind, you take control over the narrative of your life. You shift from a passive consumer of information to an active creator of your destiny. Don't just spend time, invest it. This subtle change in language changes everything. Employees spend time to survive, the wealthy invest time to multiply. Every hour you invest wisely can become a seed that grows into a forest of opportunity. Before you commit your time, ask yourself, what return will I get on this hour? Will it improve my skills, build my network, or grow my money? If not, reconsider where your energy goes. Think in terms of return on investment, not just routines. There's a big difference between being busy and being productive. The poor focus on doing things right. The rich focus on doing the right things. This means prioritizing high-impact activities that build your skill set, expand your influence, and increase your wealth. Obsess over those few things that make the biggest difference and watch how your life transforms. Don't major in minor things. We live in a world full of distractions that steal our attention and dilute our focus. Scrolling endlessly, gossiping, worrying about what you can't control, these don't build wealth. They build stress and keep you stuck. Review your daily actions and ruthlessly eliminate anything that doesn't bring you closer to Your financial freedom. Remember, time is a finite resource and you cannot afford to waste it on trivial pursuits. Master the art of thinking before reacting. Most people live their lives responding to circumstances instead of leading with deliberate thought. Mental discipline means slowing down your reaction time and speeding up your response quality. When something triggers an emotional response, whether it's fear, anger, or excitement, pause, breathe, reflect, choose your next move with intention. This is freedom, this is power, this is what separates those who build wealth from those who merely dream about it. Decide once, then act daily. You don't need 100 decisions every day, you need one firm decision backed by consistent action. Choose your path clearly and commit to the daily disciplines that support it. Small choices repeated over time create the results you desire. Remember, the journey of wealth is not a sprint but a marathon of thousands of small, steady steps. Separate yourself from the clock punchers. Don't wish for a raise or wait for someone else to promote you. Promote yourself every single day by building your skills, reading, learning, and applying higher level thinking become impossible to ignore in your field. Mental discipline is the very foundation of this self-promotion. It's what makes you valuable far beyond your hours. Build a mind that operates beyond paychecks. If your financial thinking stops when the paycheck arrives, then you're trapped. Instead, develop systems and habits that create money regardless of your physical presence. Think in terms of cash flow, equity, leverage, and scalability. These are the powerful principles that create lasting wealth. Now, I want you to take all this knowledge and truly turn it into action, because knowledge without action is like a car without fuel, it goes nowhere. I challenge you to make a commitment today. Sit down with a notebook or your phone and ask yourself, how do I currently manage my time? Am I investing it wisely? What distractions can I cut out right now to focus on what truly matters? What is one high-impact activity I can prioritize tomorrow that will grow my skills, network, or income? Write it down and schedule it. Commit to a daily thinking time. Choose one book or podcast that will deepen your financial understanding and commit to it. These small, deliberate steps will compound into extraordinary results. Remember, the path to wealth is paved by mental discipline. It's the unseen architecture behind every dollar earned and every opportunity seized. This discipline begins today, in this very moment, with the choices you make about your time, your focus, and your habits. Don't wait for perfect conditions or more time. Use what you have right now to create the life you desire. You have the power to shift from employee thinking to entrepreneurial mastery. You can build systems that create wealth independent of your effort. You can rise above the distractions and the noise to create clarity, purpose, and unstoppable momentum. So I leave you with this: your financial future is not determined by luck or circumstance, but by the mental discipline you cultivate every single day. Commit to this journey with passion and persistence. Build your mind, invest your time wisely, and watch how your life transforms. Go now, take the first step. Your future self will thank you.